What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about Star Wars Hunters, whether it's good or bad, what I like and dislike about it, and I guess just my overall thoughts on the game to give you guys a better idea of what the game is, as I know right now a lot of people are kind of confused about what exactly this game is. Obviously right now we are only in the soft launch of the game, so the game isn't by any means in its final state. There's still plenty of work to be done to get the game to where it needs to be, and it's currently only playable in select areas unless you have a compatible Android device and download the APK for it, or if you just download it on your PC and run it through the Nox player, then you can play it as well. But yeah, right now the game is definitely very limited. Before we get into it though, if you guys are new to the channel and you end up enjoying the video, then do consider subscribing and turning on those notifications so that you don't miss out on any upcoming Star Wars Hunters content. But with that being said, let's get stuck right into it. So for those who are completely unaware of what Star Wars Hunters is, this is a new arena shooter made by Boss Alien, and it's a free-to-play game that is currently only available through official channels on mobile devices. However, it will be launching on the Nintendo Switch at the full launch of the game as well, which is early 2022, and hopefully on other consoles down the line too, but for now it is only confirmed for mobile and the Switch. If you guys have played Overwatch, then you'll definitely have a decent understanding of what this game is. It's essentially just Star Wars Overwatch, where you have specific hunters to choose at the start of the game, and it's essentially a hero shooter. Honestly, kind of similar to Heroes vs Villains in Battlefront 2, where it's 4v4 with heroes. However, Hunters actually has different objectives and different modes as well, rather than being essentially just team deathmatch like it was in Battlefront 2. Now, as you can probably tell by the gameplay, and keep in mind this gameplay is from an emulator on the PC, so it looks a little bit different to how it looks on mobile, but yeah, you can definitely see that the gameplay is a little bit more basic and sort of bare bones at the moment. It's definitely rough around the edges at times, and it's not even comparable to a AAA game like Overwatch or Battlefront 2 that I mentioned, but for a game that is largely built for mobile gaming, the gameplay and overall quality of the game is surprisingly really good. Mobile gaming definitely isn't for everyone, and I'm kind of in that camp as well. For the most part, I've never really been much of a mobile gamer at all, and whenever I have in the past, I tend to play more of those sort of turn-based games or like the typical mobile games. I've never really played any mobile shooters before, so maybe I just had the wrong idea of mobile gaming heading into Hunters, but honestly, the quality for a mobile game actually really surprised me when I first played. I have to make it clear again, because I know a lot of people just won't get this straight away, but in terms of quality, this game is just not even remotely close to a AAA shooter that you'd be used to on a PlayStation or an Xbox. It's just simply not that type of game, but if you're able to see it for what it is and not go into the game with these wild expectations that it's going to be Battlefront 3 or something, then like I said, it's honestly a heap of fun, and I've actually played every single day since it launched, which I did not expect to be the case. In terms of the gameplay, it actually has a lot more depth to it than I expected it to when we first started seeing the trailers and stuff like that. Each hunter has different weapons and different roles within the team. They each have their own abilities which suit their playstyle and sort of determine how you play them as a character, and overall they do all feel really unique to me personally. For example, you have Reeve, who you guys can see on screen. She is the sort of high damage melee hero in the game, and she's got a really sort of fast, aggressive playstyle. But then you have Zaina, who's more of a support player, and she has a little bit of a lower damage output, yet really helps her team stay buffed and ready for battle. And so yeah, I think one of the things that I enjoy the most about the game right now, even though I actually currently only have 4 unlocked, is just how unique each hunter feels when you're playing them. On top of that, like I said, the game does actually have different modes too. Currently, I believe it only has control and escort, but Huntball is going to be added as well, and who knows what other modes they'll add down the line too. This does seem like it's going to be a pretty long live service type of game with plenty of content added after launch, so we could be in for even more modes too, which would be great to see. Now, control is seemingly the main game mode. It's essentially like a king of the hill type of mode, where there's just a central capture point in the middle of the map, and your goal is to pretty much capture that point and defend it while you earn points, and eventually one team will get it all the way to 100%, which obviously means they win the game. You then have the mode called Escort, which is essentially just cargo from Battlefront 2015, or literally just Escort from Overwatch as well, where there's an attacking team and a defending team, and the attacking team just has to escort the cargo all the way from the start of the map to the end, and if they do, they'll win the game, while obviously it's the goal of the defending team to stop them doing so. Those are the 2 modes in the game at the moment, and then like I said, Huntball, which actually originated from SWTOR, is going to be in the game at launch as well, and there is actually some elements in-game surrounding Huntball already. For example, you can actually pick up the ball in the training ground and throw it around, so the mechanics mostly seem to be in the game already, and I assume they're just kind of saving Huntball for a later date, maybe finishing up the mode or something like that. As for the maps, there are currently only 4 maps in the game. There's Outpost, which is a control map, and it looks like it is sort of based off Tatooine. Then there's Pod Race, which is another control map, and that again seems like it's based off Tatooine, and it's pretty cool as well. Every few minutes the center of the map becomes a danger zone, and pod racers will actually come through and kill anyone standing in the way, which adds a pretty awesome design element to the map. There's then the Ewok Village map for Control, which is obviously based on the Forest Moon of Endor, and then for Escort, I believe there's only one map at the moment, which is actually kind of like a mix of Hoth and Endor from what I can tell, and that map is called Aftermath. Now, these maps aren't actually taking place on the planets themselves. This game is based on a planet called Vespara, and these maps that you play on are essentially man-made maps that are used for entertainment, so consider each game of Star Wars Hunters to almost be like the equivalent of the gladiators fighting in the Colosseum, for example. There's a crowd watching the battle take place, so the lore behind the game is actually pretty cool, and I might make a video on that in the future. Anyway, now that I've kind of explained a little bit about what the game is, I'm going to get into my thoughts on the game overall. For what Star Wars Hunters is trying to be, honestly, this is a pretty solid game, as much as I know a lot of people will disagree with that, most of which won't have even played the game, to be honest, so their opinion is essentially void, but yeah, for what the game wants to be, it does a damn good job at it. Now, a lot of people are going to try and compare this game to the likes of Battlefront 2 or Overwatch simply because that is the same sort of thing that it's going for, but those are AAA games made by huge companies like EA and Blizzard, while this is a mobile game being made by Boss Alien. It's not trying to be that type of game, and I think if you can treat it that way by understanding that it's meant to be much more of a, small scale arcadey type of experience, then like I said, it genuinely does a great job at that. That type of game isn't going to be for everyone, so obviously not all of you guys are going to like the game, and that is completely fine, but yeah, I just thought that was worth mentioning, that if you go into the game expecting it to be essentially just a really high quality mobile game that's coming to the Switch as well, then I think it will actually exceed a lot of people's expectations, because I was pretty keen on this game and still found it to completely exceed all of my expectations, and I do genuinely think it has a lot of potential. Right now, it is still pretty rough around the edges in a lot of areas, and you would expect that to be the way for now as well, considering it's only the soft launch, and I'm also playing on a 4K monitor, so the graphics to me look pretty bad considering it is upscaled massively compared to my mobile phone, but those are all the sorts of things that will be slightly improved by the full launch of the game, and especially when it comes out on the Switch, it's going to look a hell of a lot better, and you can even see that from some of these screenshots that I'll put on screen. These are apparently all taken from the Switch, and yeah, you can see that it actually does look like a really high quality game on the Switch version, so I'm very keen to see how it turns out on there. As for the core gameplay experience though, honestly, it has completely blown me away just how much depth there actually is to the game. Despite being a mobile game, this is a proper shooter. There are different weapons and abilities for each character. There's different loadouts you can equip for different modes, and the gameplay does feel genuinely fresh when you change characters each game. None of them feel even remotely similar to play, and honestly, for a mobile game, that was my expectations. I kind of thought they'd all feel pretty similar and that the gameplay would be lacking depth. Don't get me wrong, this isn't Rainbow Six Siege or CSGO or something. It's hardly the deepest, most intricate shooter I've played, but there's way more to the game than I ever expected there to be, and I've only unlocked 4 of the 8 characters so far as well, on top of the fact that there'll be much more content coming after launch. So the fact that it is feeling this good for me in the soft launch is definitely a really promising feeling. I think for me, the only area of the game that does feel like it is a proper mobile game is the small scale of the modes and the maps. All of the maps are really pretty small. You can kind of get from your spawn to the center of the map in maybe like 10 to 15 seconds, and then the games only seem to last maybe 5 or 6 minutes for the most part, so I think that's really the only area of the game that does feel a little bit underwhelming, or I guess just what you would expect for a mobile game, while like I said, the gameplay does feel much better than most mobile games that I've ever played. I think this game is going to be a game that is slept on quite a bit. I think people are going to be quick to judge it and go, nah, this is just a shitty little mobile game, but then I do think that if it gets enough support from the devs and enough creators are enjoying it and making content on it, that in a year or two from now, this will be a really highly loved game. It's never going to be Battlefront 3 or a replacement for Galaxy of Heroes or anything like that, but I do think that it is going to have a really solid place in Star Wars gaming, which originally I did not think that would be the case at all, honestly. I guess I'd describe it like this. Star Wars is obviously built on the movies, and then now like the Disney Plus shows are a huge part of it too. The film and TV of Star Wars is obviously the meat and potatoes of the franchise. In addition to that though, there are then the Star Wars novels and the comics as well that really do have their place in Star Wars, and while not nearly as many people read Star Wars books compared to how many watch the movies, I'd say the majority of the readers would agree with me that the books are actually some of the best areas of Star Wars, and there are countless hidden gems in there that really do take it up to the rest of the Star Wars content. In that same way, Battlefront 2 and Fallen Order and many of those older Star Wars games are what is seen as like the meat and potatoes of Star Wars gaming, while a game like Star Wars Hunters can honestly be seen as like a little side novel of the franchise. It won't have the same reach as the other games, it will never be as popular, but those who do actually take a chance on it, I do genuinely think that they will enjoy it as much as some of those other games. I think it's always going to be in that situation where those who don't play it will just say it sucks and dismiss it immediately, and there's nothing wrong with that, might I add. If it looks shit to you, then yeah, no one's forcing you to play it, and quite frankly, no one gives a shit if you do or do not like it. It's just definitely not going to be for everyone, but But then for those who do play it, I think they'll always be saying to those who don't play it that, yeah, it is actually a really solid game, and it's just going to be always stuck in that position, which is rather unfortunate in a way. But for those of us who do play it and do enjoy it, then at the end of the day, we're not really losing anything either way. So I'm not really sure that it matters, but yeah, it just does feel like it's always going to be a hidden gem of a game, no matter how many times anyone says that. Overall though, I think the game is going to be a whole heap of fun at launch, and I can see myself playing it and making content on it for years to come, provided it obviously gets support from the devs. And so at least for me personally, it is really exciting to finally have a fun new game revolving around Star Wars. I've got plenty more Hunters content on the way, guys, and soon I will also be making a video on how you guys can actually download the game on your PC or laptop and play it completely free. But for now, I'm definitely keen to hear what you guys think of the game and how it looks so far. That is going to do it for this one though, guys. As always, a massive thank you to my channel members and my patrons for the continued support. If you guys are interested in supporting the channel as well, then be sure to check out the Patreon page that is linked down in the description. If you enjoyed the video, then be sure to leave a like down below, and if you are new, then consider subscribing to the channel with those notifications on. Thank you all so much for watching. You guys have a great day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.
Crush them! Make them suffer!